Tim LaFave from Reservation Road. I came.
What did you want to say? I mean, I'm trying to be a wise guy here. You're just what would you want me to do?
I live on Reservation Road. But I push my snow. I push my yard this year. 4 needles. Off of my finger. All I want is subsidizing it and doing whatever. How it got transferred out of being a oil subsidy. $730 for a first medication. $190 for a second. I don't have that kind of. I want to say is every pharmacy in Hoyle, every one of them told me they will sell needles to addicts. Why?
Yeah. I heard that. So, why James would you come here to operate by
Yeah, I understand.
Okay.
Yeah,
No, so that's fine. I said to you, what do you want to say? I mean, I wasn't trying to be short with you. I just wanted to get an understanding what I was like. Okay.
I've been furious.
No, I know.
I mean, I live on Reservation Road. Jim Thompson, who's the supervisor of Reservation, he's up there every day to watch a snowbank melt where we found about 5 or 6 bloody rags. That's Reservation Road. I don't need that.
If we were in what I want you to do, because one is when you speak to council president, advise him to refile an order relative to color coding hypodermic needles. We had that come through here miserably. Yeah. That's one. But he's got to start with an order, a piece of paper. Council president should know that. Number 2, even better. Hold on, time out for sports. Number 2, even better. You can direct any comments, especially a written comment. I would do it to the Board of Health. It's the Board of Health that runs the show as far as hypodermic needles. They're the ones that got it through without a vote of the city council, the Board of Health and the mayor. Now that's a historical fact. I am not speaking.
No,
That's a historical.
I agree on it.
Well, it's a historical fact. So the Board of Health. Now the director of the Board of Health is Brian Fitzgerald. I will happily give you his telephone number right now if you want to jot it down. You got a cell phone? I'll That's the place where we're have the most satisfaction. And they meet monthly on annex, fourth floor. I don't know what they're doing. I can't say. I can't say. It's a long hike up those stairs, so elevator's not working, so. Frank Fitzgerald, I would love to, actually, give you a third thing to do. Give you a third thing to do. But we have to start a meeting. Third thing you can do is, you should send a to the city clerk and say you want it to be noted on our agenda. That way, we'll post it, it'll be a communication relative to the hypodermic needles, and that way it'll be an official record of that.
Okay.
So those are three ideas.
I was under the estimation.
She's on vacation, and I'm about to say that she cheers this. So
She's the one that. Hey, thank you guys, and I'm very sorry. I apologize, and thank you for all your information, Mr. Bartley.
Good evening, everybody, ladies at home, and there are ladies here, but gentlemen who are here present before us. This is the April 24th meeting of the City of Holyoke's Ordinance Committee. I am the vice chairman of the committee. The chairwoman, Councilor Vacon, is unable to join us. She is away at this point. With me is Councilor Nelson Roman, Councilor Juan Anderson Burgos, and I believe Councilor Lisi is running late, but she will join us at some point. And I have the enviable task of filling in for tonight, big shoes to fill. So the first item up is
Motion to take up item number 1.
you got to speak to that one.
Second,
Okay,
sorry.
on the motion, take number 1 off the table.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, prior meeting minutes. I just have, we did receive them. I just want to have Ryan make one small change to the meeting minutes, which is to, I noticed in the prior meeting minutes that Councilor Vacon allowed a non-member of the committee to sit. I just want to make a motion, if I could get a second, a motion to reference a specific city council rule that allows Councilor Vacon to do that. If I
So moved.
Okay, thank you. On that motion to amend, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. On the minutes overall, I thought they were great. I mean, I wasn't here, but I feel like I was, so I don't know if anybody wants to, is everybody good to go with the meeting minutes?
Good.
I think I just got them today, so
They're really good. Okay, if I could get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
On the motion to approve, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Motion to take up item number 2? Sorry.
Okay, I just want to, before we do that,
Okay.
I know we got Mr. McManus coming at some point, so, and just because number 2's, we're going to talk about that for a little bit. Steve, which one are you here for, number 12?
There's 3 here.
3. And the gentleman behind you? This is Ray Smalley. Oh, Mr. Smalley. Oh, you're here for number 12. Okay, and then Mr. Hicks, you're here for, I know what you're, if we could get a motion to, let's see, well, that's the problem, Mr. McManus isn't here. Mr. Hicks, we're gonna have to wait a few minutes for Mr. McManus to come by, because there's several orders that we're gonna take up at once, and one is the parking situation up by your area. So, your counsel, if you just renew that motion, I would appreciate it. Take up number 2.
Motion to take up item number 2?
On the motion, take number 2 off the table. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Okay, this is a motion, this is an order to create a temporary sign ordinance that regulates when such temporary signs can be placed in homeowners' yards and on commercial buildings or otherwise in public view. The ordinance should consider regulating when signs can be installed, the size of the sign, as well as the deadline by when signs should be removed. I know that, and is this a public hearing? Crystal, this is a public hearing?
Yeah.
We closed our public hearing.
Okay, this is not I just want to,
I don't know how they listed it.
well, let's just. It was a public hearing, okay, so that's what the minutes say from 2 weeks ago. I wasn't here, so it was a public, okay, so make a motion, open the public hearing.
So moved.
Okay, on the motion of public hearing, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, public hearing is open. Okay, so, I don't know if any members of the public want to speak for or against this, but I'll open up to the public momentarily. We're not going to dwell on this order too long, but I want to throw a few things on the table. One, the good news is, one of our former colleagues' signs, which should have been temporary sign, but was up for 3 years, has been removed from Jackson Street. So that, and that former colleague was well aware of this order coming forward. So I commend him for doing that. The current that's one of the reasons why I signed it, filled this out. The other one is there's a couple other places where political signs are still up, posted to buildings. Specifically, the mayor's sign has been posted to, I think it's 214 Maple. It's been there for going on 5 years now, a political sign. I just think that's really outside the bounds. Signs can be regulated for time, place, and manner. The time when they're up, where they're put, and how they're designed. That sign goes beyond any and all bounds. But there are others too, and I really want to direct this towards a couple that, one mainly candidates for office. I really don't have an opinion on when they should be posted. I think it should be within the election year, but I do have a strong opinion on when they should be removed, and that's within 30 days of the terminus of the election. Within 30 days, they should be removed on all lawns, on all signs, all buildings. I also feel that there should be an enforcement aspect to that, and it should be under the purview of the building commissioner to make sure that signs are. That if we do amend the ordinance, that this is under his purview. I don't know if there should be any kind of other than written warnings, and I don't know what we can do to the either written warnings to the candidate and or the property owner. Whether we do something beyond that with some kind of a fine, a small fine, just to let them know that we're serious about that. Again, I'm open to suggestions on that. And if anybody else wants to jump in, they can. I think that Councilor Juan Burgos, go ahead.
Thank you. So I don't think it should fall on the candidate, and here's why. I know I'm new to the game, but I've given my signs to people that that just drop by the house or whatever, and I don't know the exact location. So, I made it a purpose to drive around the city, and I kept driving around until I seen every single sign and removed them. But I think for at large, it's probably a little bit harder, I'm assuming. I'm Ward 6, and at large should be harder to get every single sign. Unless they have something set in place where when you're grabbing the sign, you give me your address and I go to that address.
And I think that's the way you should do it.
Yeah, that's the way I did it.
But I think that if they're your political signs, Juan, they're your I know they only cost $2 or whatever it is, but yet they're your signs, or $5, whatever they are. It's your property. I would think you'd want to preserve that as best you can.
Yeah.
And the reasons are, in doing a little due diligence, as I haven't done as much as I need to, but some, to regulate temporary signs is, and we'll get the law department's opinion on it, is within the bounds of the First Amendment. So in other words, there's the time, place, manner restraints, as I mentioned before. Municipalities have the right to provide ordinances relative to aesthetics or public safety. when signs are, especially non-commercial signs. But even my thinking on this was some of the commercial people. So they kind of plant lawn signs similar to candidates for office, and they could advertise for their, whether they're doing roofing or siding or some kind of home improvement work. I've not often, but I have seen enough signs well beyond home improvement time when the job's likely been completed for months and yet the signs are still on the lawn. And so it would be nice if there was a mechanism where either the DPW superintendent or his or her designee and or the building commissioner or his or her designee who's driving around, spending a lot of times outside this building, they can take note of it, and they're the ones that are really the eyes and ears. And hopefully they can contact the property owner, contact the candidate for office, and contact the vendor just with a letter or an email, and just have them remove it, and just have it done as simple as that.
Like in the Holyoke Gas and Electric,
Good, Mike.
I'm sure they can send me. I'm pretty sure if we communicated to the Holyoke Gas and Electric, could you send, when you send out this month's bill, remind people to remove signs and so on and so forth. And this, of course, if this ordinance does pass or wherever it goes from here.
Well, I think that's another way to get the word out. I like it. Okay, I don't know if any other counselors want to address this issue. Counselor Lisi?
Thanks. I was under the impression that we had a sign ordinance that addressed these exact issues. In fact, I know that the building commissioner has had to enforce such similar type of ordinance in the past. So I'm wondering if the legal department could tell us what we have on the books.
I don't have any specifics in front of me. I know when Reed versus Gilbert came through, a lot of the temporary sign ordinances were then null and void. So a lot of municipalities left them on their books and hadn't changed them in light of the Reed versus Gilbert decision. So that's something to watch for in drafting this legislation. A good rule of thumb in my reading is basically if you have to look at the front of the sign to see what it says in order to determine whether it can be up or down, then it's probably going to be a violation of First Amendment rights. But if you did something
I don't know what that means.
So if I have to look at the sign and see what's on the sign, whether it's a political
content.
sign, whether it's a sign for a business, if I have to look at the front and see what it says in order to determine whether or not it's in violation of a city ordinance, then it's probably in violation of the Reed versus Gilbert decision. Whereas if you do something across the board, so it's based on the type of sign, whether it's a temporary sign being that it's not in cement or in ground or the materials that it's made of, that might be something that you could utilize, but it's a very sticky ground.
Right, and that's exactly what my order references, Crystal. I think I wrote the word temporary in there. I'll put my glasses back on, but I'm pretty sure I did. Mm-hmm. So we're not regulating content.
Right, but if you're saying that political signs can only be up for a certain amount of days, then that's content.
No, I'm going to disagree. I'm not saying they can only be up for a certain amount of days after an election. That's regulating content. So in your hypothetical, when could political sign be removed?
You would have to do the same process for every temporary sign. So if I want to put a, vote for Bert and Ernie on my front yard, that's my First Amendment right to have that sign in my front yard, unless it's a sign ordinance that says it can only be 8 by 11, it has to be laminated, it has to be so many feet away from the road, then that's what you can monitor as far as, maybe they can only be up from April to December, and then all signs need to come down for the use of plows and snow, et cetera. But if you have to look and see that it's a political sign, then you're looking at content.
Great. Okay. Well, then I think that's right up the alley where I'm trying to reach. So that's great. Well, I guess two things then, Crystal. We're going to have you, per Councilor Lisi's suggestion, double back to us in 2 weeks. We'll continue this for 2 weeks. But at that point, I'm going to ask you to, in the meantime, email us whatever we have for temporary sign ordinance language currently. And then, the other thing I'm gonna ask you to do is, based upon, and I'll open up to the public in a minute, if there's some potential, if we don't have anything, but I hope you understand my intent on this, is that we can get some suggested legal language. My opening statement was basically, we were looking for some kind of legal language to regulate temporary signs. I had no interest in really when they start, but April doesn't sound like a bad time, through 30 days after the election, and that the the signs were not regulating content. The signs are ordinance purposes for aesthetics and for public safety, and that it's under the jurisdiction of Board of Health, Building Commissioner, and/or DPW Superintendent. Councilor Lisi?
Thank you. So, regardless of what we have on the books, it seems that the way that I understood Crystal talking about, the way that we could actually regulate temporary signs is if we said something like wire stake signs. And so if we want to create some sort of ordinance that says no wire stake signs between April and, or election day in April, then I think you're also prohibiting all those commercial vendors that are doing roofing or whatever else, lawn service, from having those signs up as well. So I'm going to tell you that I personally just don't find this to be a priority, given all the other issues that we could be dealing with in the city. And I think that I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of the case itself, the Reed versus Gilbert case is going to really make it difficult for us to regulate political signs in particular, and I think that was the intention behind the order. And so this is not
me? What was the intention behind the order?
regulating political signs. I believe that's what you started talking about immediately when you introduced the order.
Regulating temporary signs. Read the order.
Yeah, but the examples that you gave were about political signs, and you referenced this counselor and that
I mean,
mayor.
I'm speaking extemporaneously. I mean, read the order.
Okay. Anyway, so I'm just going to tell you, I'm really not interested in this order at all. Thank you.
Oh, that's exciting news. Okay, there's a headline for that. Okay. All right, well, fortunately, most of us can walk and chew gum, and we can regulate, we can do more than one thing at a time. We are in a public hearing. Does any member of the public want to speak for or against this? Hearing none. I'd like to get a motion, if I could, just to continue the public hearing for 2 weeks. Please.
Motion to continue the public hearing to date certain, which is
May 8th.
May 8th.
I'll second it. On the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Okay. All right, that's continued for 2 weeks to May 8th. All right, number 3, please.
Motion to take up item number 3.
On the motion, take number 3, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Street vendor license application for manual content to sell Latin food at 218 Elm Street, Holyoke, Mass. Okay. Is Manuel? Oh, hello again. Yeah, I haven't seen you in a while. Okay, so, Manuel, why don't you step up to the microphone? Okay. Okay, looks like it's a mobile food truck.
Yes.
I have a permit that, let's see here, it looks like there's a permit that expires June 30th, 2018. What would you have us do with this? Move to, okay, Dwight and Chestnut across from Veterans Park. Okay, so where are we with this? What would you have us consider?
That permit is active, it's 30 years.
Yes,
2018.
yes.
And every year we're gonna renew it.
Dale el micrófono a él. Dale el micrófono.
Yeah, have them take it out, yeah, that's it.
Okay, I get it.
On the permit, he has it
from the peddler. And on June 30th, 2018, it expires, but they sent him a letter a month before for he could renew it. But once he receives that letter, he renews it, but he has the permit.
Okay. All right, so you got a permit, okay, so,
Vence el día 30 de junio, ¿verdad? It
Yes.
expires the 30th of June, correct?
I've got expires June 30th.
Yeah, so eso está bien, nosotros sabemos eso. What we're trying to say is, tú tienes que renovarlo cada año.
Yeah, every year.
Sí,
Yeah.
claro, so ustedes están para atrás para renovarlo. You're here to renovate it again, to renew it again starting July 1, correct? Or you
Yep.
want a brand new one?
No, we don't renew the licenses here.
No, that's what I'm trying to ask them. Like, so ustedes están aplicando de nuevo para uno
Yeah,
nuevo?
they'll send us a letter stating that it's gonna expire and he's gotta reapply for it,
Okay,
then
so,
to renew it.
So I think what we do in this hearing is basically say whether or not it's okay to have the truck parked on public property at that address.
Okay, so that's all we're dealing with here.
yeah, that's all. You're keeping it the same location?
Yeah,
So nothing's changing?
nope.
Okay, so why don't you give us a motion to
Motion to approve.
to approve
Second.
it as written?
Okay.
Okay, I think we're on the motion to approve, all in favor?
But we should say dates. That's what we've been doing anyway.
Until their permit expires, they gotta come back either way, right?
Well,
Why don't we,
because then he's gonna have to come back in July, so we could just do it through the season to like September or October.
well, it was issued September 5th. When do you want to operate your truck? What months?
Los días que tú estás operando el truck. Right now, he's operating from Monday to Friday.
Pero de qué me,
Aquí comenzamos. Prácticamente comenzamos en noviembre.
They started in November,
Sí, para ver cómo estaban las cosas.
to see how things are going.
Pero ya estamos desde el mes pasado, estamos todos los días.
So then, starting last month, he's been there every day. Pero ¿cuándo termina el negocio? So they started last month.
So March to November.
Yep. Noviembre. Yep.
March, November? Okay. All right, so we'll just, so March 1st so the motion is to approve a license to operate a food truck from March 1 to November 30th.
At 218 Elm Street.
At the same location. Although the address on here says 219, is it 218 or 219?
219.
219, okay, so there's a typo on our agenda.
219?
All right. All right, so it's 219 Elm Street. All right, excellent. Okay, and how's it going?
Pretty good.
Going good?
Yep.
Okay, great, guys. Great,
You
good
work
news.
together? You cook together?
Yeah, I'm always helping them. I'm always around.
Okay, all right, so the motion is to approve the truck at 219 Elm from March 1 to November 30th. Is there a second to that?
Second.
On the motion, all in favor? Aye. Okay, motion's approved to be recommended to full city council, and we'll meet, I think, next week, and we'll take it up then, okay? Well, thank you so much.
Gracias.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Motion to,
We're gonna leave on the table number 3, because she's already advised that she cannot attend the meeting, number 4, right, number 4, so that's okay, that's continued. All right, so that's continued. Okay, so we need Mr. McManus, I think, for several of these. But we don't need Ms. McManus for number 12.
motion to take up item number 12.
Okay, the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, number 12. City council review the fees, I filed this in April. Ryan, if you would just amend that to, I filed it April 3rd, Ryan. City council review the fee schedule in the blighted property ordinance 18-35 for the purpose of ensuring that fees not discourage receiver developers from buying and rehabbing. Specifically, the city should grant receivers a grace period from the vacant building registration fee. All right, so that's basically the order. So what Mr. Smalley kind of is here with us tonight. He kind of prompted this. At some point, we'll make a motion to suspend and allow the public to address. I think Mr. Bosco is here as well to address us on this. You know, maybe we should do that now.
Motion to suspend and allow the public to speak.
On the motion to suspend, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So, Mr. Smalley, why don't you kind of prompted it, so why don't you tell us about 110 Congress Street and where you are with this?
Sure. So first of all, let me say that I fully support dealing with the vacant buildings in the city. And the ordinance as it stands, the issue I have with it is it's silent on the registration fee. The problem is that the Board of Health absolutely insists that the fee is due during registration. The ordinance does not say that. So there's a disconnect between what the ordinance says and what the administration is doing, okay? And then there is an exemption here if you have a building permit or a filed rehab plan with the building department, that the building department can exempt the fee. So I emailed Damien and he said, I don't do the fee, don't talk to me. So the two departments don't even understand the ordinance. So my issue is that what I would like to see the ordinance say is that if there is an active renovation plan or building permit, that you're exempt for 12 months. That would be my view. That way, because what happened is the health department, in my case, I submitted the thing without the fee. I said, you guys need to read the ordinance. And they said, well, we're going to do the filing with a note that you haven't paid the fee. So they're still after the fee, $500.
Oh, they are still after it. Okay, now, when did you purchase that property?
April 1st, I think,
April-
March 28th, something like that,
March 28th of when?
of this year, 2018.
Okay.
I don't have the exact date.
Okay, so we'll just say March
Somewhere in
2018.
March.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to get to, I've gone through the ordinance part of this pretty well, and the, also the link you sent to me with the Board of Health's fee schedule on there, which doesn't match up with the ordinance either.
Right.
So, and Mrs. Molly, and so I think what we ought to do in all fairness is, hear out what you guys have to say tonight. I'll make a brief comment or two, and let other counselors weigh in. And then we'll table this for 2 weeks. And when I say Ryan's our administrative assistant, and he's downstairs running the cameras and the mics. And we'll make sure that Mr. Fitzgerald from the Board of Health and Mr. Cody from the Building Department or their designee appear before us in 2 weeks, so we can get their input on this, because I think that's important.
Sure.
That we hear from them. All right, Mrs. Molly.
But what I would hate to see is council discourage people or be an annoyance to people that are improving properties.
That's what it said. I didn't want to read the whole thing, but it basically says that in my written order, that the two departments work together and that they encourage. I tend to skim things.
Okay.
Okay, Mrs. Smalley, thank you. Mr. Bosco, did you want to address this? And you should probably just give Mr. Smalley. I didn't get your address. What's your address, Mrs.? Oh, okay. Thank you, Mrs. Smalley.
Stephen Bosco, 431 Appleton Street, apartment 4 left. I think the council has done a pretty good job of crafting the vacant building registration ordinance, and I think the Board of Health and the Law Department have administered it pretty fairly and reasonably, in my opinion. So I don't have any really strong feelings about this, but I definitely agree with Mr. Smalley's sentiment in that I think we should be vigilant against that fee becoming something that's punitive to property owners who are kind of trying their best to move a property in the right direction. I know my impression was that Springfield had done something where I think they were charging folks who owned a vacant building $5,000, but they did it one time when the building became vacant. And then once the building was brought back into compliance, that bond was given back to whoever owned the property at that time. That struck me as a really good way of doing that. I just did 5 minutes of online research a few minutes ago, and it seems as though that Springfield ordinance, that Springfield regime has been declared, or maybe has been declared, to be unconstitutional or in conflict with some law on the state level. So maybe that's not a workable solution. Okay, that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Okay, then any other counselors anybody look into, Counselor Roman?
Yes, thank you. I support this, and I thank you, Counselor, for finding this. I heard from a few business owners as well. It's the same thing when they go to file the fee or they purchase the building. They're required to pay the $500 fee, and they're already in works to go out and take out the building permit within the 30 days. They filed a plan, and so I just think that it's good communication from what I hear. So I'm excited to see where this goes. I would encourage, the spirit of this order, I think, is right in line. I've heard from a bunch of folks who agree with this, and so I would like to see it pass. I'd like to hear more information, though, as far as, maybe hearing from the building department, from Damien. Does he have an opinion? And to hear from the Board of Health as to why they want the fee when someone's first coming in for the first time. So I agree with the spirit of the order, Counselor, and I thank you for filing it. That's all.
Yeah, and when you look at the vacant building registration form that was forwarded to me by Mr. Smalley, and it's a board, hold on, Steve, it's a Board of Health document, and the language on here, it doesn't even connect with what's in the ordinance, and here's a perfect example. So for residential property, 1 to 3 units, property vacant for any duration, $100. Then it says, for residential property 4+ units, then commercial or other non-residential, property vacant for less than 1 year, $500. Now, when I go to the ordinance, it says residential properties 1 to 3 units, regardless of duration of vacancy, is $500 after 1 year. So after it's been vacant for 1 year. In the case of Mr. Smalley, it's been vacant for 30 days.
Well, no, it was vacant.
Well, you didn't own it till April.
No, but it was vacant.
No, I realize, Mr. Smalley, if you're going to speak, you gotta come to the mic, but okay, so that's okay. I realize that it was vacant when you bought it, but you did not own it before that, so why would you be responsible for the time that you didn't own it? That doesn't make any sense. That's a total disconnect from what the intent is. So I think we have to sort of get the Board of Health in here and the building commissioner in here to sort of impress upon them the language here, the way I'm reading it. And we, hold on, Councilor Lisi, and we can have a discussion about that. So that's really Mr. Bosco, you wanted to address us on this again.
Yeah, sorry for being absent-minded before. The building department and the law department have been administering this law in the way that Mr. Smalley suggests, that if a property owner has a renovation plan in place, they don't charge the fee. Now, I thought that had been codified in the statute, but maybe it hasn't.
I'm going to have to. You might be. One second, Councilor Lisi, okay?
It's section 6.
Exception 6.
It's under D6.
Under D6. D6. Deferral and waiver. There you go. So, well, I could, and here's the thing, Crystal, if the building commissioner doesn't feel comfortable, it says the building commissioner in here, but this could easily be amended to say the building commissioner and or the Board of Health. The Board of Health is administering this fee schedule. we can easily amend this. So if you would just make a note there for D6, that we would, we're not going to vote on anything tonight because I don't want to vote on without the chair lady here. But I do want it noted for when we'll table this for 2 weeks until May 8th. I want to note that D6 should be amended, or we should consider amending it to add the Board of Health in there as well as the building commissioner. Because the building commissioner doesn't want to tackle it, then we need some flexibility. Councilor Lisi.
Thank you. I think it was within the past 2 or 3 years that we actually revamped this blighted property ordinance and dealt with that section. We had a large number of folks from the Landlords Association here informing us of how to improve that language, that everybody on both sides, the city side and also the landlord owner side, was clear about when the fees would kick in, how an active renovation plan would be defined, et cetera. And so the way that I'm interpreting this situation is that the Board of Health is, and this is just an interpretation, the Board of Health has some sort of relic of a, procedural document and is applying it incorrectly at this point, because we really did fix this problem, and I think that the fees that the Board of Health is collecting is something completely different. It may be a relic, it may be something that was created. It just doesn't, as you're saying, it doesn't jive with the rest of the ordinance, and so it sounds like an anomaly that is just left over from past procedures of some sort.
Okay, well, that's probably a reasonable suggestion, and while Crystal is not our official stenographer, Mr. Ryan is, Mr. Allen is, we'll bring that up as well, or you can make a note, Counselor, to bring that up to Mr. Fitzgerald when he comes before us. So, Mr. Allen.
Well, I would just like to, under suspension of the rules, ask Crystal if she could speak. Do you understand where this fee that the Board of Health is collecting comes from? I mean, is it reflective of our ordinance, or does it sound?
Crystal, if you can use the mic. Is your mic? Thank you.
Yep. I don't know if I don't have the form in front of me, so I'm not sure how the form relates to the ordinance, but I do know that there's, so what they do is they charge the fee, and then assuming that you submit a rehab plan, which has to be approved by the building commissioner, which is, I believe, where that language comes from, and maybe there's a change that needs to happen there that shows that that's what happens, that Board of Health issues the letters that state that you owe a vacant building registration fee, but in contrast, the building commissioner has to approve any rehab plan if you're looking for that deferral or a waiver of that fee. And what happens is they charge the fee, and assuming that you've complied with your rehab plan in that first year, because he only defers it for a year, then that fee would go away. But assuming that you don't comply, that fee basically lingers. So we don't lien it for the year, we don't add it to your taxes for the year, but it sits there doing an owing until you show that you've completed your rehab plan within that year. If you then want another extension, then obviously you would have to go back to the building commissioner and show why either it hasn't been completed in the year, or if you need an extension for more time, et cetera. So it's always due an owing until such time that it's brought back into compliance and it's rehoused, or it's reoccupied.
Anything else? Nope. Okay. Mrs. Molly?
My experience on this was I had a rehab plan. It was filed because this was bought out of receivership from the city, this particular property. So there was already a rehab plan on record. The health department had a copy of the rehab plan. They still insisted on the $500. Their form insists on the $500. They were jumping up and down. So regardless of what this says, it's not being administered that way.
No, I think we heard that, and it's just Mr. Crystal's point. Crystal, you may be right, and that may be the intent, but that's not the impression that Mr. Smalley got dealing with the person, the clerk of the counter, and clearly that is not anywhere within this document. So that's, and then I think we heard the possible answer was that the Board of Health may not be aware that there's an ordinance change relative to a part of the ordinance over which they have jurisdiction, which I would find that to be amazing, but that could well be the case. There's a lot in the books and it changes all the time. So that's but that's gotta be, and maybe in between now and we meet again on May 8th, because that's what we're gonna do, we'll table to May 8th. You can perhaps have a quick conversation with Brian or Damien on this, and I'm gonna ask Ryan to send out invitations to either one or the designee to come May 8th, and, you know, we'll get to the bottom of it. Sir, did you want to address this, or were you all set?
I could.
Well, you don't, it's.
Well, it might be slightly, well, my name is Jude Stell, hello. I'm
Well,
not a
well,
homeowner.
Let's take it from the top, your name and your address.
My name is Jude Stull, Stull.
Address?
Yeah, so that's 431 Appleton Street.
All right, thank you, Mr. Stoll, go ahead.
I rent. My experience is recent. I was negotiating to buy a vacant house in Holyoke, and I didn't succeed in the negotiation, but in the process of doing the diligence, I did appear in the Board of Health and the Law Department, and I was confronted with that proposition that I would have to pay substantial vacant building fees for the time the building was vacant prior to me ever owning it.
Yeah, then
In fact, I never owned it, but I
total
was,
disconnect right there, right?
exactly.
Yeah, that doesn't make, that cannot possibly be, that's not the intent. In fact, the language in here, I think, says otherwise
Right.
myself,
But that was definitely the proposition that was made clear to me at the
right,
Board of Health.
and was a clerk saying to you, well, we'll hold on to the $500 until you've completed a renovation plan within a year? Was that ever expressed?
I don't recall that it was, but I don't want to certainly affirm that either. I was new when,
Because
to the
that
process,
may
but I
be-
don't recall it. It just seemed to me that I had to pay the money and that was it. And that was a fee that I would have to pay in addition to every other fee I had to pay.
Right.
It was discouraging.
Yeah, $500, that's kind of a hefty
That was just
one.
at that department.
Yeah.
Other departments were much more encouraging. But that is, but that was my experience, that's all.
Well, your experience is helpful
I still
to us.
rent partially as a result.
Well, and right there's a moral of the story, right? That's the moral. So, Councilor Leahy joins us. Welcome, Jim. Okay, so, councilors have questions about this at this point? Crystal, you have a question at this point?
I don't have any questions. I think, I know I spoke actually with a couple of these gentlemen and hopefully tried to sort it out for them. I know Mr. Smalley is doing a great project for us that, like he mentioned, was taken out of receivership. And I mentioned to him that he should have a waiver for his, considering that his rehab plan was approved. That was part of our court action, actually. And then the other gentleman actually came in and I mentioned to him that if it was vacant without a rehab plan, he would have to pay the vacant building registration fee, which a lot of people aren't aware of. But assuming that he was going to be working on the property, it was something that could be waived, so.
Yeah, and it, depending upon the site, I think one of the other things we have to talk about is, and I wasn't clear in my order, that's for sure, because I was really zoning in on 1 and 2, 3 unit properties, but Councilor Sullivan brought to my attention earlier today that, what about these really large projects, these over 10, I think, then the ordinance talks of projects over 10,000 square feet, but, these really big projects that are being developed, a year isn't gonna cut it, sometimes. So there should be kind of a staggered process, whereas we're not saying, well, just take your sweet time, and 18 years go by and nothing happens. But we're encouraging enough to say, Steve or Ray, or you're doing a great job, and you've been at it for a year and a half, and we can see all the progress you've made. We're not gonna ding you with a fine for what? They've already spent X thousands of dollars, and that's not what we want to encourage development. So I think that's really the intent of this. So we'll probably have to amend, well, we won't amend this, but we'll build up this order to reflect that it's not just residential, it's for larger multi-tenant and then even commercial. So I just want to make sure we bring that out as well. Okay, so with that, if one of the councilors could text Mr. McManus, I would appreciate that while, because I don't see him here at this point, and normally he's here on time, so. Okay, do you have Mr. McManus' cell, anybody?
I
You do? Okay, yeah, Juan, if you would text them, because I wanna sort of wrap this stuff up if we can. I think we can move this stuff right along. Okay, with that, I really don't have anything else to add at this point, so if we could just get a motion to,
Motion to table to May 8th.
Second.
on the motion, all in favor? Aye, okay, so that's tabled to May 8th. Okay, so let's look at the agenda. What can we take up without Mr. McManus? No, okay, so number 4 is Miss Vega is for street vendor, and she's unable to join us. I think that, yeah, I think that number 5, we can take up, because that doesn't require an ordinance change. So why don't we take up number 5?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
I can't multitask.
Between the two of you, you got 13 years of experience, so I figured one of you was gonna jump in. Thank you. That's a speed limit signs, on the motion, take up, number 5, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, speed limit signs, to be installed on Mountain Road, request 2, 3, on 3 each side of the road, I'll second that. The motion is to approve this, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that's been approved. That's an
Move
easy
it
one.
quick, I love it.
Yeah, well, I think we can move quick with each of these. On the,
Excuse me, because I do need to leave, as I had mentioned.
Sure.
Can we take up item number 8 just to hear if there's any progress, or because otherwise we're just going to wind up tabling it again? And I know that you've been close to that issue, Councilor Bartley, so.
well, we can take it up, but there's nobody here to address it.
Oh, so you haven't heard any more
No,
from?
it's Mr. McManus. No, we need to hear from Mr. McManus.
So then I need to excuse myself.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The, Councilor Roman, where is Ivy Street?
It's the Ward 6 counselor is taking over that issue, so it says my
Okay.
name, but I'll deflect.
Okay.
That's not my issue
So-
any longer, counselor.
So why don't we take number 7 off the table?
So moved.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, order that resident-only parking be established on Ivy Street in Holyoke. Okay, so, I don't think we had well, tell me, where are we with this? You were gonna look into it, Counselor.
Yep, so there are currently 3 handicap parking spaces. Ivy is a very, very, very short street. It has 3 houses on this very short street, plus a building complex. So
Okay,
2 of the handicap belong to the building, which the 2 of the residents that live in the building, and then another one belongs to a resident across the street. Now, if we say, parking for residents only, I don't see where, I don't see where are we gonna put these parking, it just didn't make sense to me.
I'm hearing that you want to give this leave to withdraw. I'm sensing that.
Yes,
Okay.
I do.
All right, and, as it turns out, we do have Mr. McManus's recommendation. You want to hand this to Counselor Leahy, or Counselor Leahy can come over here?
You want one? I think she wants one too. Oh, your lenguaje?
Okay, so. Okay, so he, Mr. McManus, this is his memorandum to us, and he said we would need to change chapter 86, which we don't want to do that. So what you're saying is that, in your opinion, we should give this leave to withdraw?
Yes.
Second.
Is that the motion? Second, it's been, I have no dog in this fight, so on the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so number 7 is gonna be leave to withdraw. Okay,
Let's take up item number 6.
on the motion, take number 6, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the motion is, the order is, good gosh, order that a 15, I'm sorry, Councilor Roman, I'm so used to my own committee here, and I'm getting a little rappy. So, order that a 15-minute only parking sign is established in front of 733 Dwight. This will help improve the flow of traffic and safety for the business on site. Councilor Roman.
Yes, thank you. This was a request from Regilio Property Management at 733 High Street. And so I agree, it's really difficult when there's tenants trying to go in and out, or either pay their rent, go in, any applicants, there's really little room. And you even see some cars sticking out the bumper out the back. I think this will help improve the flow of traffic.
I think it sounds like a great order. Counselor Anderson Burgos, you good? Okay. So the language from Mr. McManus is, the language below would be a 15-minute parking sign. He's got the legal language right here. So I'm going to say we make a motion to adopt and to put into legal form.
So moved.
Okay, we've got a motion, we've got a second. Wow, now you're getting the hang of it, Counselor. This is what we do in this committee.
We roll with the punches.
So Counselor Roman is my good friend, my good friend. Absolutely.
Keep it moving.
I was getting yelled at earlier. Now I was feeling very vulnerable, but I feel better now. Okay, so on the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, let's keep this going then.
Motion to take up item number 8.
Well, let's leave that on the table
Okay.
for right now. I
Withdraw
think
that.
we'll leave it on the table.
Motion to take up item number 9.
On the motion to take number 9, all in favor?
Aye.
Number 9, that the DPW superintendent review the possibility of resident-only parking on Pine between Appleton and Essex. The DPW superintendent writes, Pine Street between Appleton and Essex would need to be added. DPW could provide signage as required. We took this up 2 weeks ago, and we had one in favor. We had, and I'll tell you what, and if I may, I don't think you were hearing us, what an eloquent argument, and that's somebody you'd certainly want to, help. I have heard, I wouldn't say her name anyhow, but my notes are with me, but my notes are in my office. And really, it was heartfelt, and we could hear it, but it's one of those blocks where, I mean, that is really a tough area to do that. I mean, it's a through street. To start to have resident-only parking in that area, there is a parking crunch. If I had my druthers, I would like to see that perhaps something could be discussed with that little city-owned lot directly across Appleton Street from the YMCA. That's got to be brought back to our attention, Steve. Maybe you could talk to the mayor about that and bring that back up. We've got to get. We were almost there last time, and I think we could get something where between you and Mr. Whitman. Again. And Mr. Virgilio, the three of you are all to be credited for your work you're doing in that area, and that's off-street parking, and I think that could be a winner for everybody. If we could just get that out of city hands, that little People's Park, that used to be such a nice little park, I don't really know who's using it anymore, frankly, but it does get, okay, so the neighborhood would want to keep that. You wouldn't want that to go away, for sure. No, okay. So the other parking is really the brand-new YMCA lot, which I thought, and I haven't approached the executive director, I thought perhaps there'd be a way where residents on that Pine Street could maybe overnight park there for a modest fee. And that might, and the first particular resident, who again, she was just wonderful, for that particular resident, perhaps she could park her car there overnight in a fenced-in, lighted lot. And I think with a little work, maybe we could get the YMCA to go along with that, if at all possible. But at this point, I don't really. I mean, I'm not warm to, and I don't think the Ward 4 counselor was. I think I'm not going to interpret I'm not going to interpret. You were here, Juan. So I'll keep my interpretation to myself. So.
Motion to deny or leave to withdraw.
Yeah, I'm going to second that. Okay, so the motion is to give this leave to withdraw, again, with the caveat that we're open to suggestions on this to try to alleviate some of the parking, and I would ask that as a ward counselor, we're all ward counselors here, a lot of us have narrow streets, we've got to deal with, the plowing issues, with fire trucks. I mean, going up Brookline Avenue, Juan, that's a major issue.
Yeah.
I mean, there's, on-street parking is a problem. It's a good problem, I think, because it shows people are moving back to the inner city, but, I think that we have to, as far as this order goes, I don't think this is the right place on this particular street, so.
You read that right already? That was that email from.
Yeah,
I just didn't want to make sure.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Okay, and besides, we can't be doing emails and open meeting law stuff, we can't be doing that, we can't be doing that. So that, okay, so the motion is to give a leave to withdraw. On the motion, all in favor? Aye, okay, so leave to withdraw for number 9. If I get a motion.
Motion to item number 10?
Mr. Counselor Bartley, just want to let you know that Michael McManus said he's at a different meeting till 8 o'clock, and he'll be here then.
Yeah, I think we'll be done by then. But Councilor Leahy, I appreciate your reaching out to him.
Thank you.
Yep.
Oh, actually, he just wrote me back. I'm at another meeting till 8. Yes, wow. How about, what a guy. Jim, I might have to text him back to say,
I said I'll let him know.
yeah, okay. Do we have a motion for number 10?
Yep, so moved.
I heard somebody, hold on, stay right there, Ms. Hicks, we're taking up number 10 right now. Here we go.
So moved.
No.
No.
Okay, on the motion, taking number 10, all in favor? Aye. Okay, number 10, order the DPW superintendent review parking options on Hamden and Beacon and offer suggestions that may alleviate delivery issues for Eddie's Furniture, request from the business owner. So I have here the comments from the, and I'm going to give you a copy of this, Mr. Hicks, too. So this is a public record. I'm going to give you a copy of this, but I'm going to read it to you. The engineering department is in the process of reviewing the possibility of a tractor-trailer turning out onto Hamden and Beacon. It appears there is sufficient room for Hamden, but not for Beacon. So the way I interpret this language, Mr. Hicks, if I may, and we can suspend it, have you address it if you want, is that he needs more time to figure it out. I think that's where it is. So are you okay with that? I want you. Juan, would you give this to?
Sure.
It's number 10. Yeah. It's number 10, Mr. Hicks. So that's the. I mean. Okay. Yes. The Ward 4 counselor advised that she'd be unable to attend tonight, but she didn't really give an opinion on this either way. Okay. So it would be, Mr. McManus comes in the 4th Tuesday of the month, so the next would be in May, and I'll tell you the date. The date is May 20, am I looking at that right? May 24th.
May 24th, be here at 6:30.
May 24th at 6:30. Oh, I'm looking at Thursday, good gravy. I am really slipping today. My God, I can't even read a calendar. Okay, so May 22nd, that's even better.
Is that the 4th?
That's the 4th Tuesday. I think I might have, it's the 4th Tuesday of every month.
1/8/15.
Okay, so.
May 22 at 6:30.
May 22 at 6:30. Okay, Ms. Hicks. Okay, so I'm going to get a motion to table that date.
So moved.
On the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Great. And then I think we have number 11.
Take up number 8 or no?
We will in a second.
Okay.
I'm
Yep, motion to take up item number 11.
On the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Item number 11, constituents request that a resident parking only sign be placed in front of 340 Hamden. What is going on with this? Other clients utilizing certain establishments, leaving those who reside in this address without parking during the evening hours. Many are working individuals who ended up riding around in order to find parking.
Motion to give,
Well, let's just hold on. Let's see what the okay, the engineering department doesn't say anything.
nope.
There's a blank on that one. There's no commentary from, and who filed this order? Doesn't say who filed this order. Well, 340 Hampton Street. Is that Ward 4?
Yeah.
Well,
Hamden Street? Yeah. It's either.
okay.
34.
Well, it's not me.
It wasn't me.
The corner of 4 and 6, it looks like.
Okay, 4 and 6. Well, we have the Ward 6 counselor here, and he's saying not me. And the Ward 4 counselor did not provide any input on this, to my knowledge.
I would just say if we're giving all the rest based on, because we'd have to amend the same section for resident-only parking, we're not really trying to touch that. So that would be my argument for just giving it leave to withdraw, so we're not having to.
Yeah, I would second that argument myself. I'm going to second that motion to give a leave to withdraw. Councilor Anderson-Burska, you want to add, weigh in on this?
Yeah, I'm wondering where do you feel this is near 6? I'm just trying to figure out, because Hampden Street is definitely either in 4 and 7. Hampden Street is by, that's basically.
Okay, so it's 4 or 7, all right.
4 or
that's-
7,
Well, then we'll go with 4 or 7.
It's definitely more in 4. It's because Sergeant Street cuts off.
Okay,
Is a cutoff for 6.
all right, well, we weren't challenging you on your
No.
knowledge of Ward
Oh,
6, so that's for sure. All right, and I'm going on memory, that's never a good idea. Okay, so, the motion is, I mean, listen, it's resident-only parking signs, that was an ordinance that we spent, a good 6 months on it, and it was a lot of back and forth and a lot of work, and now it's almost like this is becoming the substitute for handicap parking. If I can't park directly in front of my house, I want a resident-only parking sign. Well, I mean, that's a tough one, so I'm gonna say, since nobody's really here to speak to it, the motion's a motion. On the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that's leave to withdraw.
Motion to take up our final item, number 8.
On the motion, Counselor?
Second.
On the motion, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Item number 8, a DPW superintendent assessed the placement of a signalized crosswalk near Homestead Avenue, entrance to HCC. Ms. McManus says, the city hired McMahon Associates to perform a traffic signal warrant analysis for this intersection. McMahon is finalizing the study, and the preliminary findings are that a traffic signal is not warranted, and the existing equipment should be removed. However, a pedestrian signal should be installed at this location. Oh, okay, well, you know what? I gotta say, I like the sound of that a lot.
Likewise.
I like the sound of that a lot. Okay, so we should table this to the fourth Tuesday.
So moved.
Yep.
On the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so with that, we are.
Motion to adjourn.
Counselor, number 5. It looks like the engineer actually has some differing language. So you all approved 30 miles per hour?
Oh, we did.
Linda's
Okay,
not
let's,
here.
Motion to reconsider item number 5.
okay, on the motion,
Second.
on the motion, motion reconsider, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so here's, the order is this. The speed limit signs be installed on Mountain Road. The engineer says a speed limit for Mountain Road is not provided for in section 86. Therefore, statutory limits would apply, which is 40 miles per hour on an undivided way outside of a thickly settled or business district for at least a quarter of a mile. DPW recently performed a speed study of Mountain Road, and the 85th percentile was 40 miles per hour. Well, I think what we're gonna have to do is table this one to the fourth Tuesday in May.
So moved.
On the motion, all in favor? Aye. Okay, so we have tabled that one.
Motion to adjourn.
Second that. On the motion to adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we are adjourned. Thank you.
See you Monday.